Hello and welcome to this case study, Digitalization in Manufacturing. Today we are looking at a case from Cloetta. I have included Gregory Growels from Cloetta to this meeting. So let's go through this case study. Um, so as I mentioned, we're going to have a look at the Cloetta case. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Bart Mans. I'm the innovation manager at AT Automation. As an innovation manager, I'm in contact with many customers, our internal engineers, and also people who are working with Ignition. And that's also, of course, people from inductive automation. I'm following all new innovations regarding Ignition and try to look how we can implement those at our customers. Gregory, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Bart. My name is Gregory Grauwels, Belgian guy, operational technologies manager working for Cloetta. So Cloetta is an international company. We have now 6 factories, and we're making a delicious candy. So
Indeed,
people
it is
know us.
delicious.
Thank you. So people know us from a lot of different brands, Sport Life, chewing gum, till the wine gums, Venco, Red Band, a lot of brands also in the Nordics. Um, and yeah, my goal or my vision is to have an harmonized landscape within the OT area. So it's a very wide area from PLC, SCADA, HMI to MES, data collections, and so on and so on. So I'm a big enthusiast about Industry 4.0, AI, and all the fancy stuff that's evolving quite rapidly these days.
It is, and yeah, we could see you in one of ours, or we could hear you in one of our podcasts, of course, because we did an episode together. But we can also see you on many forums, and of course on your LinkedIn. You're already working a lot with great content. So yeah, we
Thank
have
you.
seen you many times already. But
Thank
today, let's have a look at what you are willing to share with us about the use case.
Perfect. So let's go quickly over a few slides. I promise not to be too boring, but I think the journey of digitalization, digital transformation, it's quite important to highlight what digitalization is, at least from my point of view. Um, it's not a factory with no lights on and just robotics making all the products and having AI systems making all the decisions. I think the reality of digitalization is way less sexy, I would say, less science fiction. I think digital transformation is not about replacing people with technology, but it's about giving people better technology. It's about connecting all the systems and people that never spoke to each other. And of course, showing a lot of insights that were always there in the data, but impossible to see. And I think for me, that's a key element within my function to create a practical reality regarding digital transformation. So in my experience, I see a lot of experts trapped in administrative tasks. So I see a lot of people on the shop floor with a lot of experience doing 8-hour shifts where they have quite a chunk of time investing in collecting data from a lot of different systems or machines, putting numbers into spreadsheets, filling out papers, and then trying to piece everything together and figuring out why the hell, for example, the line dropped in performance last week or yesterday, and putting all that effort in to find that root cause, already new problems arise. So I think that's a story that is actually a reality and happening in a lot of factories and a lot of companies every day.
It
So many,
definitely is. Yeah.
yeah, I think many companies are making world-class products, unfortunately, with a lot of outdated OT systems. And I would like to say let's end that. um, the challenge, like I said, is yeah, we still spend a lot of time gathering data instead of solving real problems, and that can be due to the fact that we have a lot of machines that are siloed or assets systems, so really disconnected. Therefore, having a lot of paper and so on, we make our decisions reactively. And because we spend so much time in gathering that data, we have constraints in improving. So we don't either have the data to improve, or we don't have the time to make these kind of improvements. So that's really a big challenge what I see in manufacturing in overall. Um, and then we also have rising stakes. So it becomes really tough to compete if competitors are making real-time decisions based on a lot of data. So it becomes also much harder to find skilled labor. Um, and there are elements that are completely out of our control. So like rising market pressures. And at the end, we're always asking ourselves, how can we do more with the current or the same assets at a lower cost? And my personal conviction, my personal opinion is that traditional manufacturing, that approach is just unsustainable. So we hear about Industry 4.0 now for quite a while. Some people are even calling Industry 5.0 is around the corner.
Yeah.
I think the key question is just um, yeah, what is a good strategy? How do we create a digital company? How do we transform our operations in such a company?
It definitely is, and so there are a few steps, right? Like the digital transformation strategy, and the steps that are leading towards, yeah, let's call it Industry 4.0, but you could also call it 5.0. And we see a lot of people and companies that we talk with that really want to go for Ignition 4.0 or 5.0, but they don't even have connected equipment. Well, that's the first
Exactly.
step, of course. So I think you really did a cool job there with defining the strategy.
Thank you. Yeah, so we have to demystify a bit the digitalization part, because what I also see is that people think we just buy a very big fancy system and that it will solve everything, and that is just not true. And so um, we have a lot of opportunities, but it will not be solved just solely by buying a system. So if I say digitalization, it's really a strategy, like you said. It's a key enabler. We need to find the right tools to connect everyone and everything in the factory. So in order to convert that data into fact-based decisions, and that goes beyond just having a tool. There is also, like we said, a strategy needed, but also an organization with capable, knowledgeable people, defined processes, and so on and so on. But of course, I'm a technical guy, so I like to focus on the technical stuff within this presentation, uh, because we have yeah, a technical collaboration, I would say.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, what are then the building blocks, the capabilities that we have to build, then we have to build a layer on top of the current situation. So the current situation, what I see often is you have a lot of siloed machines. They are communicating to each other via hardware, hardwired communication, or TCP communication, but um, not often you see a full-blown MES or SCADA system on top of it. Most of the time you see a lot of operators monitor and controlling their machines or processes via the touch panels on the spot. So uh, building a digital platform, for me, crucial, and that's the most crucial building block, is the data engine. And the data engine is uh, covering a lot of important features. And one of the most important ones is connecting, being able to connect to a lot of industrial assets, being able to collect that data and put that in a in a standardized structure, and then also storing that data for later use. And so we can visualize and analyze that data via trends and so on and so on. But also act as a bridge to IT, cloud, or any other kind of system that you want to integrate. So that data engine is really crucial. And once you have the data figured out and you have data coming in, then you can start thinking about applications. And an application could be like a line control, which is a typical kind of SCADA feature. So we have alarms, we can monitor or command or control certain process elements. And the toolbox that's more related to manufacturing execution system functions like an OE or a statistical process control of having more kind of advanced analytics. And what I try to say is that connecting to cloud AI, it's like, I would say, the last step. We tried, or we intend to start with the very fancy thing, but I think the infrastructure needs to be there, and data is key.
Yeah, I think that's something that you prove also with your LinkedIn videos is that you need data, you need that engine. And in this image, you also have specified the UNS, the unified namespace in it.
Yeah,
So the way how you structure the data and where you structure the data is really crucial. Um,
exactly.
because then you can use it in those ecosystems where you can use AI, cloud, and so on.
Yeah, exactly. That's the bridge to everything,
Yeah.
externally, internally, and from an application point of view. And so to move further, that digital platform, um, we need to find the right technology, which is fit for purpose. It needs to be modular. It needs to be scalable. We need to be able to roll it out in phases, and it needs to provide really quick results with minimal risk. And that really positions a company uh, in the industry 4.0 and beyond. And if we then look what our solutions are, then we shows Ignition really as the centerpiece for that. Ignition is very flexible, it's very scalable, and it's most important, it is also very cost efficient. And Ignition is that cornerstone to, to be able to have that data engine in place, but also building features like SCADA and MES features. And together with the partner Sepasoft MES, which integrates seamlessly into the Ignition ecosystem, um, it delivers us the OE module. So it comes with a lot of out-of-the-box production models and analysis features, and having that full OE module, that first MES application in place.
Yeah, and indeed, if you take a look at the automation pyramid, which is actually on the right on this image, the orange part, is that you have those different levels of the automation pyramid, and you see that SCADA, HMI, MES, MOM is combined into one, and that's the Ignition platform. That's being used as the data engine, the unified namespace. Give it a name, and on top of that, we have added in this project the Sepasoft MES OEE module. Indeed, as you mentioned, Gregory, that's one of the additions that you can add to Ignition. The same applies for AI tools, but or other MES tools. There are many additions in the Ignition ecosystem that we could add here.
Yeah, and that's why it's so powerful. So we don't choose really for a brand, but we choose for the right technology.
Yeah.
And it's just a coincidence that the Ignition is just really strong in being a very versatile tool. So what's not on this picture is like an MQTT broker, which delivers us our real-time data, our unified namespace. Um, and what we also, or what I would like to mention, is also the infrastructure behind it. And so normally I think a lot of people are just installing it on a Windows server environment, but we chose deliberately for a Linux environment and using Docker containers. And these Docker containers we can really easily manage with a Portainer. And this kind of infrastructure allows us to really build our complete infrastructure within minutes. And I think that's also really key at choosing the right technology beyond the application side, so beyond Ignition MES, but also uh, the infrastructure that delivers or make it possible to run these applications. So we have a playground, we have a development a part where we can just spin up a lot of different development Ignition instances. Ignition is also for free, 2 hours, and then you just need to reset it with a button. So we can run as many as we want, and that also helps developing with system integrators like you at A
Yeah.
Automation. So
Yeah.
you have your own development environment. We have our environment. We have a staging environment. We have production environments, and everything is version controlled, which is just a readable text, and we can deploy that text or that code just in an instant, and that's really powerful, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool that as a production company, manufacturing company, you made the choice to use these systems. When I take a look at our customer base, we still have a lot of customers that use legacy systems. They want to use Windows environments where we run Ignition, and then for us to have a development, staging, production environment, we have several Windows machines that need to be maintained and so on. This Docker setup gives us a lot of flexibility here. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. And if you screw up, you just
Yeah, yeah, you start
delete it
again.
and you spin up a new one. So that's
Yeah,
really nice.
yeah, you press
Uh,
a button instead of asking the IT department to yeah, to buy a new server.
yeah, exactly. So that's really powerful, and I truly believe in this infrastructure that we have now.
Yeah, but you need to have people on board that are with you on this setup and on this type of structure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. You want to add something about
No, no, I
Ignition?
think
No. Okay.
this is really the key here. And you mentioned the trial time of Ignition. So it's download. You can download it from free. You can download it from our website, and on top you can yeah, you can run Ignition, and on top you can install modules like the ecosystem. So in this case, we are specifically talking about the Sepasoft OEE module, but we also have SPC. We have track and trace, a batch procedure, and so on. So there are many options. And then I'm just only talking about Sepasoft modules. Well, there are way more modules that you could add to the ecosystem
Yeah,
from
exactly.
other vendors. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have the manpower and the time just to explore everything. So that's now we are the bottleneck and not the technology. And I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
yeah, very
That's
interesting.
why we are happy to help.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, time for action.
Yeah.
That means we have a little demonstration prepared. It's just a demo environment. So like I said, we just can spin up really easily a copy paste of our production environment. And that's the idea, that we just quickly go through what we have been building the past 2 years. And yeah, just go through some features.
Yeah. Cool.
Then I have to uh, change my screen. Oh,
There we go.
so I put
Again,
it in
this is
full
indeed a
screen.
demo environment that you are going to share with us. So I'll disable the camera so it's full screen.
Yes. So we made a plant overview. We have just one line, but obviously in production we have many lines, and this gives us a very quick glimpse of what is the actual or the current state of the lines. So we see in what mode it is, if it's in production or it's in an unscheduled phase, if it's running or it's in a downtime. So you see it's now in an unspecified downtime. It's also red. We see what the current OE shift is, what product we are running, and how the progress is of the manufacturing order. And if we click on it, then we easily see that that shift dashboard with a lot of data. And that dashboard is made fully flexible. So we created with AT automation some widgets, and that defined our dashboard. So we see in one glimpse the OE, what the order is doing, what the downtimes are for this current shift, the OE number, and so on and so on. Of course, we can change the period. So if we want to go to like a previous shift and so on and so on. So this is really helpful for an operator or when you do a shift handover to discuss current and previous shift. Um, this is fed in with our run control, and that's the main control screen that we built for the operator. So here you can start and select the work order, and then once you're starting, you're hopefully running all green, and if
Mhm.
a stop is triggered, then that will be triggered by the system, and then you get like a sort of task list. And here you see it's an unspecified downtime, and an operator can then choose a reason, like an unplanned reason. For example, let's say it's a lack of material, and then it will end up in the right part of it. And hopefully, at the end of the shift, all the downtimes are yeah, got a reason. We can also give like comments to that reason, or generic comments, or give comments even to a special unit, a machine. And at the end, all that data or context is then fed into yeah, a lot of sorts of visualizations. So I
Yeah.
can easily see that here we had to wait for 60 minutes for a technician, and so on and so on.
Yeah, and I think what was done here in this project is that we are heavily relying on the operator inputs and
Yeah,
not heavily relying on sensor inputs. So there is just, correct me if I'm wrong, just one sensor being used to see if the line is running or not, and to also count products. And for all the rest, we need the operator. The operator needs to select the current work order. The operator needs to select the current downtime type. This Episoft module also supports doing that automatically, but of course, you need to have more inputs in.
yeah, I think that's a really good observation. Um, so the key for scaling, so if you have more than 100 production lines, you need to be able to scale really rapidly. You don't want to take weeks for just one line, because then it takes just years to implement such a system. So the easiest way was, yeah, somewhere you have a counter, somewhere you have a signal that counts your boxes, products, or whatever. Uh, but the time between these boxes or products can also indicate whether that line is having issues. So if it passes a certain threshold, then you can also define the state of that line. Just just with one sensor, you can define the availability, and you can also define the performance. And this way, we can go really rapidly in deploying such system. And of course, ideally, you want to have less manual work. So if we have specific downtimes that we can link to certain sensors or alarms from machines, then you can also link that. And that would be like a second phase.
Yeah,
So
makes
you have a
sense.
lot
Yeah,
of options, but
yeah,
we chose for the rapid deployment. And strategically, I think that's the best choice at this moment.
yeah,
Yeah, and you create these kind of dashboards, but we made, of course, other dashboards, like more an overall production dashboard, where we can have selection filters for a certain period, and then have a lot of information about that period. Um, and that's just the way, yeah, a company can set it up. And so the methodology to look at its performance and what kind of key data points or data sets you need to investigate a little bit deeper on why, for example, my OE is 40%. That's how you can then create this flexible dashboard again with a lot of different widgets. And it
Yeah.
was really interesting
Yeah, and the widgets are actually
develop.
built on top of the analysis options of the Sepasoft module.
Yeah,
And indeed, that's still in here. Yeah.
yeah. So, and that's interesting about Sepasoft. It comes with an out-of-the-box analyst selector, so you can create a lot of different types of analysis. So it's a sort of query. So you select just your data points from a whole bunch of stuff that's coming out of the box with the production model of Sepasoft. You do some filtering, some grouping and ordering by, and then you create these kind of data sets that you then can export to a CSV, or you can also visualize it differently. And that's how we made then these kind of widgets. So we create widgets based on the analysis data sets, and then you can choose different types of visualization. And that gives you full flexibility.
Yeah, so it's a combination of the just the model that it's in there, and then also visualization, like how Cloetta wants to have visualization.
Exactly.
That's the combination that we used here.
Yeah. So if you want to have OE per number, then you just do a top interval per hour, your OE number. I dislike the table format, so I can choose like a line, and then all of a sudden you have a different kind of visualization. So the data engine is really key, and it becomes really powerful if you have a combination of historian data, so your unified namespace data, together with OE MES data. And then it becomes really powerful to create these kind of dashboards and so on and so on. We have event graphs, so where we aggregate shift data with manufacturing order data with the mode of the line and not the downtimes. So you can have a very quick glimpse in what happened over time for that line or for the whole factory. And that's where yeah, application from an application point of view, it's just endless. It's just what we want, we just can build it. And that's
Yeah, it starts with the data.
exactly.
Yeah.
And why we chose Sepasoft again is having that production model already in place. It gives us structure, but it also gives us the speed to deploy, because we have from Sepasoft that framework where we can configure and add a new line, and that goes really quickly. So you have additional lines you can add and machines within these lines. You have a lot of breakdown reasons, etc., etc. You have the whole material management where you can add a lot of different materials, and then the work order manager where you can start creating your manufacturing order with the start end date, the quantity, and then the line selection. And because it was so versatile, we also integrated with our ERP system through MQTT, and that was done quite in a quite short time. If I see my experience, full-on integration with ERP, that takes just a lot of time and effort. And I think what we managed to do with the right technology choice and infrastructure, we won a lot of time in that part.
Yeah, and the reason here is also, I think, because everything goes to that same UNS. The UNS is the key here,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
data engine. Oh.
So yeah, that's I think mainly it. Very short.
Yeah,
Obviously, there are a lot of features in the system, but I think this is the main thing, together with the trend analysis and the standard data historian kind of tool sets from Ignition.
yeah. Of course, for me, it's a familiar visualization. I've seen this before, but I think it's a really cool first step to get all the lines connected to this DMP system. And as time moves forward, it's cool to add, for instance, SPC or SCADA functionality and so on. So it's really a framework here is built where further can be built on.
Yeah, exactly. You start collecting more and more data, and the question is not anymore about collecting data and storing it, but the key question is what are we going to do with that data? And
Yeah.
that gives that question back to the one with knowledge. And so you have to ask your process engineers, your managers, your operators, what are you going to do with that data? What are you seeking? What are you looking after? What is like a crucial element that you're looking for? And then you can just easily build visualizations on top of it. So I think the technology part is not our bottleneck. It's just about having the right knowledge and just give data context and then do something with that data.
Yeah, used in the
And
right way. Technology
exactly,
can do everything, but what's the thing that you need?
yeah,
Let's make that.
you can keep on
Yeah.
building
Yeah.
fancy dashboards, but at the end you have to use it,
Yeah.
and it needs to bring value.
That's definitely true. Yeah, and like the cool thing here is that if someone has a specific wish for a dashboard need or a setup of a dashboard, this functionality of widgets, they can develop their dashboard their own and choose the correct widgets on the window.
Yeah, it's a good thing that you mentioned because it's an hidden feature at this moment.
Yeah.
But if you go to inductive automation and you go into the exchange, you already have a lot of free stuff that
Yeah.
you don't have to develop anymore. And there is a whole dashboarding element where you can save your own dashboards and so on and so on. And we did that as well with the trends. So we have now an environment where we can save our trends, whether it's public trends or private trends. You can export it, import it, and these are additional features that we just grabbed for free from the exchange.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like as well about inductive automation, the community, and just people sharing their knowledge and their resources.
Yeah, and the industry that we're in is really unique, a community-driven approach where yeah, integrators are helping each other, building resources, sharing those resources for free, and really collaborating there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
So it's
always nice to
endless.
have a customer that's also looking into that. It's always nice to have a technical conversations on that. So I want to thank you, Gregory, for sharing this demo, showing the screens, showing your vision and the presentation that you just showed. So thanks for that.
You're welcome.
So, and what I would like to do to move on, because we haven't finished Cloetta. We just finished Gregory's story about the framework and the strategy. So I would like to move on with a story from Roy, one of the engineers that we're gonna speak up next. So let's go through that. Roy is working for Cloetta, and he has a great story to share. So please, Roy, introduce yourself. I will know you because you're here in the meeting as well. So welcome.
Yeah, I will.
Introduce yourself and
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I am Roy van Broekhoven. I am already 10 years working for Cloetta. I started there in the maintenance department and recently joined the operational technology as a technology specialist. So yeah, that's really short of my personal story.
yeah. Hey, and you so you just mentioned you worked for Cloetta previously. Can you take us back to the early days? To what was your role back then, and how did a typical day look like?
Yeah, of course. So I had multiple roles within Cloetta. I first joined there, like I said, in the maintenance department as a service engineer. Yeah, really was tasked with more the corrective maintenance, I would say. So on a typical day, I would come in with a good cup of coffee, and do a shift handover with my colleague. And then if there was any breakdowns that were ongoing, I would jump in immediately. Otherwise, I would go into our maintenance management system and trying to figure out what happened the past 24 hours. So, and we also had open work orders and stuff like that. So really more, like I said, more corrective maintenance stuff right there, and more trying to support operations on running the production. So that's one part. I did that a couple of years, and after that I jumped to more the electrical side. So I went to electrical engineer, also hands-on, but more doing projects and supporting to the corrective maintenance department. So I did also that a couple of years. I really specialized myself more in automation as an automation engineer, and doing PLC programming and HMI modifications, everything that's needed, and also, like I said, troubleshooting for the corrective maintenance, and trying to help where I can. And really high over that. That's what I did. And a typical day also for the other parts, it's always involved and related to production, I would say.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned the whenever we take a look at the automation pyramid, you mentioned the PLCs and the sensors, HMIs. Did you also have any experience in interaction with SCADA or MES?
Yeah, so MES, I would say that was not really a big thing. None of the companies I've worked for before, depending on the size and the maturity, of course, there can be a MES system, but I'm not known with that. So that's not. But yeah, SCADA system, of course. We in Cloetta we have multiple SCADA systems, and in the multiple roles I had less or more interaction with those programs. And from a service engineer, I would say it was more the interaction to troubleshoot and maybe open and close valves and stuff like that. So that's really more the operational interaction that I had. And when I was as an automation engineer, I also did some work around that. But I have to say, the system we use it right now are somewhat outdated, and you need a specific license as a programmer or to build those SCADA visualizations, and we don't have that. So you need special knowledge and you need special licenses, which are really expensive. So no, I didn't have many hands-on experience on that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
all right.
I really like.
Eventually, you started working with Ignition. Also, can you take us back to that process? So, what were the steps that you took as an engineer until the role that you're in now? So, what happened the past year?
So yeah, a lot of happened in the past year. So yeah, for me, I got involved into Ignition, or at least heard the term Ignition for the first time when I was interested in making a career step. And so my OT manager, which you just saw in the previous part of this presentation, he mentioned Ignition as being part of the strategical thing in Cloetta. So yeah, I didn't hear anything about it, so I went on and dived into that, and I did that maybe like every technical person would. That was just going online, downloading the software, installing Ignition Maker Edition, and try to fiddle around and try to see how everything works. And so that was my first hands-on experience, I would say, and yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I know you just mentioned in my typical day I would start with a cup of coffee. Let's make a small bridge to the coffee because I heard you did something cool with the Maker Edition inside Cloetta. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, exactly. So one of we had a project, or at least we had something that we had in mind of trying to show the digital platform that we're trying to implement in Cloetta and make a more awareness of that. And we came on to a creating a demo stand with the PLCs and a frequency drive on there, and all electrical components and things really flashing lights and looking really awesome. And then connecting an ignition platform to that. And that was really my first learning journey and first steps I took with ignition without prior trainings or stuff like that. I just jumped right into that and tried to make everything work as I just trying to, how you normally would create things, right? So you want
as an engineer, I guess.
As an engineer. So I had multiple things. So one of the things I created on there was a paint boot station. So you can mix and match multiple colors depending on the recipe. So it was like downloading, uploading stuff, and visualizing things. And so that was one of the things. And like the coffee boot, the thing that you mentioned, we also created this. So we could. We let's say it like this: we installed a sensor and we tried to register anybody who had coffee that there was a coffee taken from the coffee machine. So and with that we can create all these metrics and visualization. So we had the mean time between coffees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was a fun little project, play around with, and I learned a lot doing that, I would say.
I think that really helps you to master the skills, of course, because you want to achieve something. It isn't production critical. You have a coffee machine with a sensor on it. You would just like to count coffee cups and the number of times people go for coffee. So that's a really cool and fun thing I've seen. So that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one of the skills you mastered. You mastered ignition. You just mentioned without any learnings and so on. Eventually, when you joined the OT team, you also did some education. I gave you one of the trainings that we give at AT Automation, the master training. So that's cool. But I think you mastered some other techniques as well. Okay, can you elaborate a little bit on that? What's around the ignition ecosystem within Cloetta?
Yeah, so there is a lot of things around there in order to run ignition. That's only one part of the puzzle, and so that are the strategic things that have been decided up front that I joined the OT team. And there are the typical things, so like the Docker and the Linux and the Postgres and you name it, all the typical stuff.
MQTT, unified namespace,
exactly. So once I made the step from automation engineer to the OT space, that was a big step, of course, and there's a lot of learning, and ignition was one part of that. And it was a more learning as you go thing, because there's a lot to take in right there. So how do you do things and how do you learn things? I think really it goes from starting with trying to solve a problem, or trying to you have an issue and you want to work that or create a solution to that, and start from there. I think that was for me the most the approach that worked for me. And then I learned a lot about all these parts. So and once you know a little bit about some part, you get a question about another one, and it's still ongoing until even today, and I think it's going to be like that forever. But it's like that. Just one question triggers the other, and before you know it, you're learning a lot from different platforms and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think as an engineer, you have the eagerness to deep dive into there and to answer those questions and to come up with new questions. So
exactly. So once you learn how things work for one part, then you understand that you don't know a lot about other things, and there's a lot of involved. I would say in the OT space, also the networking thing. It's all it was not a real hard thing back in the day as an OT as an automation engineer. The networking is typically done by IT, and OT. That's just. It's floating around, and if it works, everybody's happy and nobody touches it. And now it's a big part of.
We're right into that convergence to connect IT and OT.
Exactly. So that's really I learned a lot. Last 10 months, I would say. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, really cool. At what point did you realize that yeah, this journey of learning stuff wasn't just adding skills, but yeah, fundamentally changing your career.
Um, yeah, I think the OT, when I started deep diving into OT, the first thing I questioned myself is what the hell is OT? What is it doing there? And what do they do? Where they get involved in? And that was the first thing that intrigued me to go and try to figure out if that's yeah. At least for my career, you have to decide do I always keep sticking in the things that I already know, or or trying to evolve into something else. And I think there was a logical step for me to do, because there's a lot of things that are related to the things I already did, but there's a vast space for OT, I would say. And it was for me logical to go down that road.
Yeah, and yeah, of course, we have been contacting the past year. You have been doing the training, as I mentioned. I also saw the enthusiasm that you have in order to want to learn more and want to deep dive into there and go for the next step. So that's really cool. So where do you see OT heading the coming years? What do you see for yourself, for your role, but what do you also see for Cloetta coming up?
Yeah, for me, for my role, of course, like I mentioned a couple of times, that was a big step for me from the mechanical, from the maintenance department to the more central function. And so there's a lot of growth in there for me. So me personally, I can just focus on all the standard topics. But yeah, we have a strategy for Cloetta where we need to head and to evolve as a company and get more maturity. And yeah, that's just the basic stuff right there. But if you really are looking into where does OT, or where's OT heading in general, or within Cloetta, I would say for Cloetta, it's the maturity thing. We have to grow a lot in there and get us ready for the coming things that are happening right now, I would say, because there's a lot happening. That's for sure. So we have to make ourselves get ready for that next step, I would say. So the big pot of gold.
Yeah, there are a lot is coming up, and we'll have to see how that will land and how we could be implementing that within companies and within Cloetta as well. Thanks, Roy, for sharing this story this far. So for customers or colleagues who are looking for master your growth, as it is in our tagline, I think you're a perfect example for that. But what does it look for you in practice? What is for you mastering your growth?
I think if you look at the sentence "master your growth," there's one thing that's really important in there, and that's the word "your," because you have to be the one that want to grow, and not somebody else that says that you have to grow into a certain role. So I think that's the key point there. So yeah, really try not to focus on getting someplace you think you need to be, but just for maybe let it grow more naturally. I would say I just go with the flow. If you feel like it and you're interested, I think it go automatically. That's the biggest thing, and just go on to that wave and ride it and see where you can end up. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm not saying you're going to be successful all the times and every time that you do it, but at least you tried, and then you learned that maybe that was not the thing for you, and then that's all right also, because you can sit and wait, but that's not going to get you far. So that would be my biggest advice.
That's a good one. You really have to do it yourself, and of course, we as solution provider, as a premier integrator, we can help with that, either with training, either with support during projects. But the your part is indeed very important in the slogan.
Exactly.
Roy, I would like to thank you for this sharing your experience and sharing the success story of mastering your growth. together with the story that we and the demo that we saw earlier from Gregory from Cloetta. I think this is a great ending for this case study. So thanks all for the attention, and see you next time.